Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Your host for the Shadow Mark Thump and co-host Joe Mingo.
All right, guys, I'm excited to be here tonight, man. We got a video now. We've got some official looking stuff going on right now. I'm so excited to be here, man. This is going to be awesome. We're changing things up now. I'm going to be Derek Thompson, but I'm going to be Thump from now on, just for military and broadcasting reasons. And then we got Joe Mingo, who's always been Joe Mingo. We've been calling him TJ, but whatever you want to call us. And then joining us tonight is going to be Frank Manteau, I believe. I probably screwed it up again, but he's going to be live with us tonight from Crayons Ready to Eat, and we're excited to have him here. Why don't we get a quick introduction from you, Frank? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll start diving into your military career and what all you've done.
Howdy, everybody. Guys, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here with you guys tonight. So you did pronounce it right. It is Frank Manteau. So you're good on that aspect. And give you a little history. I'm a country boy from the backwoods of Ohio that graduated high school June 1st of 95. June 5th, I was at MEPS. June 7th, I was on the Yellow Footprints at Parris Island, South Carolina. And I spent 7.5 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was ended up initially got suckered in to be into the Marine Corps Security Forces. And they felt that, that was the best option for me. And I didn't realize I was going to the infantry at that point in time. And it wasn't until boot camp that I found out what actually Marine Corps Security Forces was. So ended up doing that, spent time up at Bangor, Washington, was supposed to do 2 years, only did 10 months. I was like, I can't do this, can't sit up in the freaking rain on the Puget Sound Garden freaking decommission a sub. So I went down to the infantry, spent time at Alpha Company 1-5 for a bit. From there, I went and coached recruits on the rifle range at Etchen Range. And then I ended up ending my tour over in Golf Company 2-2.
Awesome, man. I love that for you. So leading up to all that, you were, like you said, you grew up in Ohio. So you're kind of a Midwestern boy. I'm used to that too. I'm from Nebraska. TJ's from Oklahoma. We kind of understand the story. What led up to your decision to join the military as opposed to anything else?
So for me, it was something that I kind of always wanted to do. It was just something that I wanted to do, to be able to freaking, because you got to realize, living in a small town, Ohio, whenever you had a population of, I think when I left was 951 people, and your graduating class is probably about 100 and some folks, you know what I mean? It was a small town, wasn't much going on here. They had just, I wasn't, and the coal mines wasn't my thing. College sure as heck wasn't my thing, for the simple fact that I was just not with the great, minds of that, and graduated with a C- in high school. So I ended up just having an opportunity to get out of the area. And it was thank God to a gentleman by the name of Hooter, God rest his soul, aka Mark Kenny. He got me situated to change my stars and get away from some of my family situation, which allowed me to be able to go ahead and get into the Marine Corps right out of high school. It was the only branch that was a consideration, because there were a few people in the area and a few people that I knew, and, kind of parts of the family that had joined the Marine Corps, and I wanted to be part of the best. And as well as, going through high school and being constant, through elementary school and being bullied. And when you have a total of about 16 teachers telling you that you're not going to amount to anything and that you're not going to make it through boot camp, it was only fitting that I joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
look at me now, bitches.
Right?
Yep.
So is there a family history of service?
2 To a degree, there is a bit. I don't associate with my family much anymore, but my older brother went in the Marine Corps. My dad was in, I think, Air Force or Army first, and then he had joined the Marine Corps during Vietnam. But, you know, anything prior to that, I'm not 100% sure. For me, it was for me to basically to start my own path. And like I said, to be able to change my own stars and, you know, give myself a fighting chance. And eventually, whenever I had kids, give them a fighting chance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that for you. So I kind of wasn't paying attention too well enough. What year did you EAS?
I EAS'd in December of 2002. And there's a historical facts about every single date. I'm not going to tell you the date yet. When we get to that, I'm sure we're going to get there. There's a lot of dates that are significant in my military career, as well as my birthday, that also destined me to be a Marine.
Absolutely, man. So why I was asking, I guess, is, you know, so you're in service, and I've gotten the chance to ask one other guy about this. You know, a lot of our generation, we joined because of 9/11, right? You know, so that was kind of our call to action. You were in when that happened. So what's it look like from that side of it, where you're already in, it happens, you know, when you went in, you probably weren't expecting something like that to happen. What's it end up looking like as you're already serving to see this happen?
Well, I'm probably going to stir up a conspiracy theory when I tell you this. So in the Marine Corps, we have various different trainings. And one of the trainings we do is called CAX, Combined Arm Exercise. We go up to 29 palms, we go up to the stumps, and we do a live action, you know, live fire, you know, scenario through for training. So I transferred from Edson Range out of Pendleton over to Golf Company 22. And I think I checked in beginning of July of 2001. And in August, literally a month later, I'm getting told, hey, we're going to CAX. So I just left freaking being in California almost 5 years. Now I'm going back to 29 palms for a month, right? And a lot of those things, when we know we're in a training evolution, we know the day they're telling us to come back is the day that we're coming back. Bottom line, plain and simple. Right. Well, we knew we were coming back on September 11th of 2001. We knew it. It's the day we were coming back. September 9th, they came to us and said, hey, they just, you know, we're leaving tomorrow. I was like, all right, whatever. We didn't think of it, didn't ask anything of it. Didn't hit me till a couple years later. So on September 10th, we're then flying back to North Carolina. Now, at the time, I was a married Marine. I had kids. I was out, you know, living out in town. And after you, from a training evolution, you had to be back until afternoon formation or whatever. But for me, being the sergeant and being the guy in charge, I still went in at an early, decent hour. Well, I was driving through the gate. Literally, I was 3 cars from entering the gate of Camp Lejeune whenever the radio broadcast broke through that the tower was on fire. And yeah, and then I'm going through, and then they're talking about a plane just hit, and all of a sudden you see the freaking in the rearview mirror, things are just started, you know, blocking things off, no vehicles in. And I drove to the barracks, everybody's standing around a TV. I get in there and it's an instant replay, you know, watching the replay of what happened, how everything went down. And it was like, holy shit, we just got fucking attacked in our own damn country. And it was just sitting there watching this, and it was unbelievable. It was like, there's no way, this can't be happening. But knowing that I just came to the gate, that the gates were getting sealed off, and now we're sitting here watching on TV, I'm like, started trying to find the staff sergeant, trying to find the gunny, figure out what's going on. And all of a sudden, as you know, all of us, you know, higher ups are trying to find everybody to find out what the heck, because now we've got, you know, this going on up here. And then we're finding out that there's other planes in the mix of it, and they're possibly coming down the pipeline. And right around the time, I think it was whenever the plane went into the Pentagon, is whenever they put us on lockdown and sent us to the Army to get, lock and loaded. And we were on base for a couple days, just locked down. And it was like, what's next? Are we going to be in? We're in line right there in Camp Lejeune. It's like, what the hell?
That's just wild, man. So let's dive into that. Let's dive into the conspiracy side of this thing, man. Because it seems based off like just the line of events, the way they happened for you guys, that this was planned.
I wouldn't say planned. I would say somebody heard or knew something that caused them to change a flight on the training evolution.
Is anticipated.
So, yeah, there was
something. That's a good word. That's a good word.
Exactly. That's a great word for it. So I wouldn't say that it was something that was planned or whatever. It was like in the military, improvise, adapt, and overcome. What do you got to do? What do you got to figure out? And I think that's what it was. But, looking back at it years later, and all of a sudden it hit me, I was like, did they know anything? Did they hear anything? Did they have any feedback? Right. Did they hear any chatter that caused them to change the date that we were flying back? I don't know.
Yeah, the whole thing just seems like super abrupt. It seems like, there was something there, some knowledge that, like he said, anticipation, I think is a great, it just works. I wonder, and I think we all will wonder for the rest of our lives, at least our generations, this new generation we've got military members now that weren't even born when 9/11 happened. They have no idea what 9/11 is, which is just crazy to me. But we did the quick overview of your service. Now you're saying there are some important dates and there's a reason you're a Marine. Let's start diving into all those things. Let's talk about all the significant memories from the military. And I don't know, we can start from boot camp. We can start from wherever you want to, man. But let's go over all those significant moments for you.
So this is going to be something that, some Marines will know the history. Some Marines will forget, or some Marines will probably have no clue. So the day that I was born on February 23rd. If anybody has any inkling of one of the most significant days in especially Marine Corps history or in a lot of military history, is that whenever the flag raising of Iwo Jima occurred, was on February 23rd. Mm-hmm. So that's one. Now, I left for the Marine Corps on a plane June 6th. Everybody should know what happened on June 6th.
D-Day?
Yep, D-Day.
What?
D-Day was on June 6th. So, June 6th, I'm flying over to South Carolina. June 7th, I'm, on the Yellow Footprints of Parris Island. Now, the day that I got out of the United States Marine Corps was December 7th.
Yeah.
That's a significant date in history. Do you recall what happened on December 7th?
Pearl Harbor.
Exactly, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So it's like, the day that I left was guaranteed that I was to be a Marine. And that has now been a significant part to me doing what I'm doing within the business industry of this particular business for Mill Treats Inc. as the creators of Crayons Ready to Eat.
I love that, man. That's so cool. So I've asked this, and it's kind of becoming a thing for me that I want to continue asking vets. And we'll start with let's start with the bad this time. Let's start with the bad, then we get in with the good. What was your least favorite memory from service?
Sitting on the friggin' dry docks of Puget Sound in the rain, glorified Firewatch, just out there soaking wet, guarding a sub being decommissioned. That's why I didn't do a full 2 years. I fought to end and not even do a 2 years of security forces, because that was just drenched,
miserable,
cold, miserable. Yeah, I was up in Seattle, Washington, or up in Tacoma, Washington, actually. But yeah, it was unbelievable. It's like, yeah. So I'd say that had to be the worst. But one of the things that tops up there, a little bit, was whenever I spent about 4 months in 1998 over in Kuwait.
Right.
So
How was Kuwait? What'd you end up doing there?
So I'm one of those special people that has a JMUC on my DD-214, but I have 0 foreign sea service. Then I spent 4.5 months in Kuwait, and we were attached to the IMF. Back in '98, they were trying to get inspectors over and inspect Saddam Hussein's cache site.
Right.
Technically, I was attached to the inspector unit to get them escorted over there to the border so they can go in and inspect that cache site. Hot, miserable, freaking in a country that you have no damn clue, and you're told that you're going over here and you don't know why. You have no clue until you get there and you find out. And you get there, it's in February and it's freaking cold as shit. And then by the time you're 2 months later, it's starting to be a freaking roast box. And you're in June, freaking right before you leave. It's 130 some degree weather in the damn shade, baking your ass off and freaking flak jacket, camis. This is the old school gear. This is the woodland camis. This is the flak jackets, the Alice packs, and everything being out there. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Back in the day of starching your camis and getting after it, polishing them boots, man.
Yeah,
shining your boots. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, we can relate to the foreign country where you sit there and you're just like, man, what the hell am I doing here? We both went to Afghanistan, hot, miserable, and just stupid. So we understand that very well. So you did the Kuwait thing, and we went over the what?
I just want to say something. I just noticed in the comments, my one guy, his name's Eric Frank. That is somebody you guys need to have on your podcast. He is doing so many great
things. Get you up here, man.
He's doing so many great things. Is a veteran nonprofit called the Veterans Connection. He also have a spirit and coffee company. His vodka and his whiskey are phenomenal. It's called 22 Salute Spirits and Coffee. I'll get you guys connected with him. It's the smoothest tasting vodka I've ever drank in my life.
That would be incredible, man. We'd love that, and we want to keep growing every chance we get. So we went over the worst memories. We went over Kuwait. Now, what's your best memory from service?
All the clowns in the Marine Corps. No matter where you went, it was you had the fun, you had the entertainment. I would say mostly it was also being able to. I'd say the best time was coaching recruits in Edson Range. Because not only there you're dealing with the Marines, you're able to teach them, whenever they come and shoot on that, but you got an opportunity to bring up the next generation of Marines and be a part of that training evolution whenever you're coaching them on a rifle, helping them go from not being able to do anything to all of a sudden they're shooting an expert right out of boot camp. You know what I mean? So for me, I think that was the ultimate best one, but it's always going to be the clowns in the Marine Corps.
Hell yeah. I love that, man. And yes, Joel, we sure did, man. I was excited as crap to play it, and I feel official now, man. So everything's going well. But yeah, that's awesome. And we often talk about kind of the family and the kind of the spirit that you get with them. And I don't think people really realize like just how much of family they really become. You know what I mean? And I was talking about this on another podcast where it's just like we end up spending more time with each other than we do our families a lot of the time. Especially us guys that deploy and we're doing those delay or the depths and shit going other places. I mean, you're spending more time with your buddies than you are your family, and they have no clue what you're going through. So, it's just one of those things that I've always tried to really get out there to people to understand that, we're family. We call these guys our brothers and sisters for a reason. So that being said, next topic here that I wanted to kind of talk about is you EAS'd after, what'd you say, 7.5 years?
Yeah.
So what led up to that decision to get out and not make a career out of it? Because, you were kind of in that weird point. A lot of us do 4 years or we do 700. You went with the second tour there, it seems like. What kind of led you to be like, maybe not?
Well, it wasn't a maybe not situation for me. That's why I only have 7.5 years, not a full 8 years. Yeah. So for me, it was, I never complained. I never went to medical. I never, I had the aches and bruises. Yeah, I messed my ankles up running on the hard ball in the sand with the freaking, go fasters and the boots and running with the packs and everything else. And 9/11 had just happened. You know, we were gearing to go up to Afghanistan, and I wanted to go. I already spent 4 months in that sandbox. I already kind of had an idea what was going on, you know, and we were on a 7-mile hump, easy 7-mile hump, no big deal. About halfway in, I started getting severe pain up my back, just shooting up my back. My hips were on fire, and was like 200 yards from the end. And I had already determined with my squad, with my, being the sergeant, and they all agreed that we're going to hump back. We weren't going to take the 5 tons. We weren't going to do anything. We're going to hump back. We were going to freaking, be able to build up the strength and the stamina we needed, because we don't know how long we're going to be on our feet out there. 7 miles could not end up being 7 miles when you're out there in the desert. Right. And so all of a sudden at that 200 yards from LZ, I just dropped and collapsed. I was paralyzed from the waist down. I couldn't feel my freaking lower half.
Crazy.
Oh yeah. Got taken off to fucking medical. They gave me a few shots. About 8.5 hours later total, I was able to feel my legs. A couple hours later, I was up walking around. And at the time, I had both hip disc replacements, deteriorated disc, arthritis already popping in my freaking back. And they wouldn't let me, as much as I fought, they wouldn't let me deploy. They wouldn't let me go over there and save Marines' lives. So they gave me the option to fight through everything and see where the medical was going to go, or take an early out, 6 months, go sit in S3 and get out honorably without a chance of ever being able to re-enlist. I had 2 small kids. Marriage was going down the tubes. So I freaking got out at 7.5 years.
That's crazy, man. I'm sorry to hear that. So we usually try to talk about mental health a little bit. So let's just kind of talk a little bit about that. So, you obviously wanted to go. You wanted to do something for the country, and you wanted to do more. How hard was it for you mentally to sit there and have to accept what happened and how it was going? Because, life has a funny way of just kicking us in the nuts sometimes. And how we mentally deal with it is completely different for everybody.
It sucked like crazy, because here's the other kicker. Unlike any other major conflict we've had around this country, around this world, this one was televised.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there, and I moved back to Ohio, and I'm sitting there watching this shit unfold. And it's like, part of me knew that the media embellished a lot of shit, but I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat like I should be there. And moving back to Ohio, I didn't plug into the veteran community, knowing that Ohio is like the 3rd or somewhere in the top 5 largest, the state that has the largest amount of veterans in it and military comes out of. It ate me alive for a while. My marriage is already going downhill. I sucked myself into started working 2 jobs, and just I cut off ties of everybody. And whenever my divorce went downhill, I freaking fought and got full custody of my kids, working, taking care of them, getting everything situated. And it took a lot of, if it wasn't for me having my kids, I probably would have ended my life one way, shape, or form. Wow. There was a point in time that, I had considered it, and it was like, I got my kids on this. I'm the only one my kids got. And right. I didn't.
Well, thank God for that, because you're doing amazing things. So you would probably say your kids are what pulled you out of it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
100%. I love that. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I can't say I haven't been there. I've been there. So I understand what you're saying. And, just the picture of your kids in the back of your head, they stick there, and it'll remind you to not be an idiot sometimes. And I'm super thankful for that.
And like I said,
if you don't
I
mind me
cut all
asking,
ties off. No, go ahead.
oh, sorry. If you don't mind me asking, was the divorce, do you think the military life kind of led to some of that, or was it just outside other influences?
Outside other influences,
Roger.
you know.
Gotcha. I was just curious, because it seems like a lot of us vets end up divorced, unless, you're TJ and you got good luck. So,
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for
he's done
cursing
everything else, but he's got great luck, and he's going to be married for the next 40 years until he's dead. So we're looking
Keep it that way. That's what we need to keep this
absolutely.
country going. Always get back to those type of
We really do.
relationships.
We really do. So I'll just jump this out now, then we can dive into where everything's going now. If you had one thing that you could tell somebody that's on that edge, it's on that brink, that's not doing well, what would it be?
Damn. A couple things come to mind, but the biggest thing I would say is you think the life is going to be easier for everybody else around you, but it's going to be 20 times harder for them if you go through this. You matter. You have value around the people you are with. Plain and simple.
Absolutely. I love that. So before we move on from your service stuff, TJ, do you have any questions about the service side of things, and just any questions up to this point at all, anyway?
Kind of going back to whenever you just got on base and then saw the replay of the towers getting hit and everything. And then how long did they keep you locked down? Like you didn't get to go home, see your family or anything like that?
It's like 3 days.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
But I bet that was pretty stressful.
Oh, fuck yeah. Sitting there freaking wondering what's going on, what's going to happen. And you're freaking, when every chance you get, you're freaking glued to the daggone TV to see what the news media is talking about. You're out there, everybody's on watch, everybody's on standby. Nobody can freaking sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was a blast.
I love that, man. I love that TJ finally asked a question. It only took some a little bit prying, you know what I mean? You got anything else in there, Big Shoots? You're usually good for at least one. But usually, surprisingly enough, you usually have like 7 or 8 stuck in there, and you just don't talk.
No, I got some more, but I think we're gonna hit them. So that's why I'm not trying to jump the gun a little bit here.
All right. So they're not service related, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So next we'll dive into, you get out of the service, you kind of do your thing. What were you doing in between? We'll start there.
Well, like I said, I cut all ties off from the military community. Single dad, full custody of my kids, trying to do right what I can do by them, get them taken care of, and give them the best life possible. Like I said, after I Marine Corps, I moved back to Ohio, and I worked all the odd jobs. I worked armed security. I worked freaking private investigation. I worked, a couple other jobs in between. I ended up going freaking being a bouncer to strip club. I ended up from there going to the automotive industry and working as a parts store at Advanced Auto. Then I went to LKQ salvage yard. And it's just, the weather was just freaking, it's cold as shit out here in the winters. But, body was kind of getting beat up and wasn't getting I don't go to the doctor. I don't get myself taken care of. I just deal with it, move on. But my kids couldn't really have a life. They were constantly having to look over their shoulder because their biological mother was not able to just get involved in a lot of things. And I had to make a decision. And as a parent, and anybody that is a parent should know that there's no handbook. There's nothing that tells us how to do things. And I don't care what somebody else comes back and says, well, my kid does this and I do that. Yeah, for you and your kid, it works. Each and every kid is different. Each and every human being is different. Therefore, each and every parenting style is different. And a lot of things through our childhood determine how we do become parents. We either emulate the same things or we totally alienate away from, the parents and not do those things.
Absolutely.
And, it's like, so I had to make a choice. And for me, it was get my kids somewhere where they can be able to, have a life, enjoy, try different things. So I picked Paris, Kentucky or San Diego, California, and I flipped the coin, and the coin took us to San Diego, California 10 and a half years ago. I did one of the worst things anybody could probably do and stupidest things anybody could ever do. As a single dad with 2 teenage kids with $4,000 to my name, no job, no vehicle, didn't know anybody, landed in a hotel circle in San Diego, and had to figure it the fuck out.
Right.
Miraculously.
God, how stressful was that?
Oh, it was. I'm living off of freaking $600 and some odd dollars a month. My VA was getting me at the time, at 30, 30%, I think I was at the time, deciding to go out to one of the most expensive damn states there is. But San Diego had all the weather. It had, you could drive and hit the Big Bear to hit the snow. You can drive up to Julian to hit the snow or hit the grass. You can go out to the beach. You've got the desert for the sands. You got to, it's right there within the perfect spot. And there's a lot of different cultures. So luckily, and this was, I ended up running into one of the guys that we lived on base housing together, and we kind of knew, we became friends while we were in service, his wife, and lo and behold, it was her, and started talking to them. And mind you, I didn't ask them. I didn't tell them that I was, getting ready to be on the verge of struggling.
Right.
I wasn't, that I wasn't, probably wasn't gonna be able to afford the hotel much longer and end up being homeless and everything. And they offered for me and my kids to come stay with them in then Lakeside, California. And that was a blessing. We was able to stay with them. I was able to get a job within a couple months. Month after that, got a place of our own, and I hit the ground running. And hell, I freaking started 2 companies and made it 10 and a half years there.
And thank God
How
for good people,
incredible
right?
is that, man? Yeah, I was going to say, how incredible is that? So that was kind of like probably a reintroduction to the military family thing, huh?
Yeah, it was. It was getting me back into the military community, and getting back into doing things outside of work, kids, work, kids, work, kids, So it panned out to where, and I'll say it right now, if any veteran does not know what VetTix is, you need to get on vettix.org. Okay.
Hell yeah.
If anybody, doesn't have a clue or whatever else, you need to get signed up on there. It uses ID Me to verify who you are.
Hell yeah.
They help me be able to build a lot of memories and go to, concerts, freaking different shows, different events, and, different activities that gracious people have donated tickets for events that we as veterans can go on there and register and get 4 tickets to these events. The most I've ever paid for 4 tickets was $15.
That's incredible,
and
man.
They've got events throughout the whole year, and they help me be able to get that interaction with the kids and be able to build memories with my kids directly. And it's just phenomenal, that they, that organization exists. And I recommend any veteran get out there, get on vettix.org, put in your state. If you got a surrounding state near you, find events there, get the tickets, go build memories with your friends and family.
Hell yeah, you're talking about building memories and VetTix and going to events, which brings up the next question that I'm going to give you from one of our viewers. How do y'all deal with crowds? I'll let you go first, and then I'll be happy to dive in here.
So for me, my kids know that if I go to a restaurant or I go somewhere at a restaurant, my back will never face the door. If we go somewhere to an event or whatever else, If I can control it, I will be on the end seat. I will not be in the middle of the rows. It's situational awareness. It's looking around what's there. It's finding out, the exits and being a concern. And it's not being, paranoid. It's not being, that I'm afraid somebody's going to come out and attack me. It's the protective nature that we initially had, which brought us into the military. But the military really instills that into you of situational awareness, attention to detail, and seeing, making sure you know what's going on. But when it comes to severe large crowds, you have to, I put myself in a position to where my back is against the wall, not to the people, so I can be able to see. And there's sometimes that it's like kind of get overwhelming. You get large crowds, especially whenever you're trying to exit and they don't have their shit together and they're trying to let cars go through, or they're letting freaking people go through instead of letting this group go through, and you're stuck there. And it can be a little, anxiety can build up, but I've learned over the years that doing things like meditation and stuff like that can really help you ground those things, and breathing exercises work really well as well.
Absolutely. I love that. That's such a good answer. And that pretty well sums up how I feel about it. I mean, it's not that I'm afraid the worst case scenario is going to happen. It's more me being prepared for the worst case scenario. It's having that situational awareness, understanding that if something does go to shit, I want to be able to respond to that and have a plan in place. So, and then we'll kick it over to TJ. How are you doing with crowds, man?
Well, my doctor calls that hypervigilance, but fuck the doctors. I call that self-preservation. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing, man. I think it all depends. If I have my kids with me, it's a lot worse. If it's just me, yeah, whatever. Go ahead and fuck around, find out. We'll see what happens. Maybe I die, maybe I don't.
That's always a good time. I like that you play the risk. You're doing the Russian roulette thing with your life. I like that. That's fun.
Yeah, it's not really with my life. It's maybe they're the ones playing Russian roulette.
Yeah, maybe the other guy's playing Russian roulette. I like that. So, Frank, you said you ended up starting 2 businesses. Let's start talking about that.
Well, my kids started getting older, and they started getting into, the independencies a lot more than, as in the age beyond the age of 10. And I started figuring out, I'm like, I got to figure out what I enjoy doing. What about me? And I got fed up with the way I was being treated at work. I was a store manager at O'Reilly Auto Parts, and I couldn't hire qualified people. They wouldn't let me, train people properly. They just wanted. So in the automotive parts industry, you have parts guys and you have counter people. And the counter people can just read a computer. And those are the ones that when you come in and say, I need a set of wipers for my vehicle, they ask you what the engine size and how many doors it is. Instead of just knowing your make and model, let me get you the wipers. Or what size wipe, what kind of vehicle it is, and get you the right ones. So I was already on the verge of ready to step out of there. So I ended up quitting that job and went to another job that gave me my weekends off and doing outside sales for a hydraulic hose company. At that time, I cashed out my 401k and went and bought $3,000 off of Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, and Craigslist, just a bunch of woodworking tools. Being from the backwoods of Ohio and growing up in farm country, you learn, how to make shit, how to build things, how to, make things that are useful around your house and, your own different things. And then I was in woodshop for high school. All my high school years was woodshop, and that's what I knew. So I'm like, I'm going to get into woodworking again. It was great. It was fun. So I started doing the woodworking, and then that other job just didn't pan out right. Things weren't going well. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm quitting the job. I'm taking this woodworking thing full time. So I started doing the woodworking. In the mix of that, because my son was in high school bunching band, my daughter was in choir, I got in with the parent group, and I ended up helping build the props for the high school halftime shows and anything that they needed. And then my son started dating the high school color guard captain.
Oh Lord.
Now I'm making props for the high school color guard for the halftime shows and their shows that they do. And at this time, I really got back into the veteran community because I started doing the woodworking aspect and trying to gear towards the military things. And I started getting into the social media, created the business page, and, you know, got Kamikaze Woodworks off the ground. Hence, where Kamikaze Woodworks came in is the significant dates of me being in the military. And I spelt works differently as a W-E-R-K-S because I'm a country boy from the backwoods of Ohio. We ain't got the greatest grammar in the world. Yeah. So I started that, and they came to me and asked me to build them a giant picture frame that they could jump in and out of. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I can do this, you know. I didn't want to make something that was big, elaborate, going to cost an arm and a leg. So I went and got a sheet of plywood and ended up taking a vectored image of a photograph frame, blew it up, printed out on multiple sheets, glued it to this plywood, cut out the inside, cut out the nice decorative edges and everything. And because of my high school experiences and the fact that I threw away a 4-year ride scholarship to the Pittsburgh Art Institute to continue joining the Marine Corps out of high school, I had an art background. I understood, you know, the primary colors and this and that. And when you glue paper to wood and you use paints, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It doesn't really, it has a tendency to, you know, have lighter shades and things of that. And markers bleed and blend and they don't break and mark back up. But if you use the same crayon from the same manufacturer, and thank God for Amazon, you can buy bulk crayons in the same exact color. I bought a bunch of crayons and started coloring in the images of nice decorative colors that they wanted. Now, let's rewind for a second. I got out in December of 2002. I was not called a crayon eater. I was not called any of that. I was a leatherneck, double dog, jarhead, ground pounder, grunt, bullet sponge, all those things. And I started seeing around this same time memes, videos of Marines eating real crayons on social media, and them actually having them at balls and birthday ceremonies. And I'm like, alrighty, that was in my mental Rolodex, right? So I'm sitting here coloring this, and I take one crayon and put it in my mouth and change colors, and I start gnawing on the damn thing. And that's when it hit me.
But they were delicious.
Not necessarily it was delicious, but maybe there's some to this crayon eater nonsense, right? Right. So I spent 3 months, dove in, looked and searched the interweb, didn't really find anything that was a truly consumable crayon. Yes, crayons are non-toxic, but any of us that have any understanding and know you don't want to put a lot of wax in your body, even if it's for a small amount of time. But hey, now we're called crayon eaters. What can I do with this? The mental Rolodex is a great thing because whenever I was a store manager, became the store manager of O'Reilly Auto Parts, and the outgoing store manager was leaving, this team member brought in these amazing peanut butter truffles that I wish I could have every single week and not ever buy a Reese cup again. Found out she went to school to be a pastry chef for a few semesters.
Oh, hell yeah.
And because of that, when this idea came out, I reached out to her and said, hey, Cassandra, have you ever made chocolate color? And she started explaining this whole elaborate detail, how they color chocolate. I'm like, no, let me rephrase that. I want it to write. And she was like, I never went over that, never no clue. I don't know. But knowing her work ethic and the fact that her dad was an 82nd Airborne Army veteran, she understood the mission. And she said, I will try. Exactly. So she said she would try. 2 weeks later, on September 12th, she sent me a video of her making the very first CRE right. I knew I had something. Went all of 17 into 18. to figure out the best possible design, the best color, the best formula to come out, the best color, vibrance, and to get everything situated. And in 2018, Crayons Ready to Eat was brought to the mainstream world through an organization called Bunker Labs.
Awesome.
I had ended up doing a wood project because I had listened to him online, and my son found him, and it's the only rap music that I would listen to at the time was the Marine rapper. He made a songs at the time, about the military experiences and things of that nature.
Yep.
And I had done a woodworking project where I'd spun a 21-inch wooden crayon for him, and it said Grunt Fuel on it.
That's so cool.
So all of a sudden, he's in San Diego. And then he's like, I meet up with him, take my son down there, and he asked me after about the woodwork. He's like, what else you got going on? I'm like, I got this idea of turning the joke of calling us Marines crayon eaters into reality by making a chocolate crayon, blowing it off. He called me to action, got me down there to pitch it in front of the cohort. At that meeting, I went from I had nothing, no clue, didn't know what pitching was, not a damn thing, to starting a page before the meeting, getting a website up before the meeting, and told him my idea and brought samples. And I walked out of there with from 7 people following us on Instagram to over 200 people following us on Instagram.
That's
and
crazy.
we hit the ground running. Ended up learning what not to do in a food-based business whenever you start by, let's just start shipping it because we have people asking for it. Yeah, whenever you do that, the county comes down on you 9 days later after you open up sales and tells you to stop sales and call their office. Next thing I know, I'm on the phone with the main person in the health department telling us we're in violation of about 12 to 13 different things, and we're on the verge of being fined almost $10,000.
Oh, geez. Good Lord.
And yeah, and we had already got this situated. We're like, we got this. We got the idea. We've got it. Doesn't look like a crayon. It's triangle shaped, so it doesn't roll off the table and lose your food. We made sure that the higher ranks can do a safety brief to the lower ranks, which crayons to eat. We don't have to parent. It's not our job, but we can help parents decipher. Ours are safe to eat. Don't eat the round ones. What more can we do? Yeah, when you have something that you have to eat, you got to go through the proper channels. And luckily, she gave us a warning and walked us through the steps to get our cottage food permit so we can sell locally in San Diego. And helped us get it situated, got the packaging, and we were issued our cottage food permit in March of 2019 for San Diego to sell locally in events.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So you were pretty excited to get this off when probably about the point when the Marine rapper was like, hey man, what a great idea. That I would be excited. So you got that going. How big of a learning curve has it been just within that food thing? Or all the food stuff to get it out in San Diego. What's it been like since then?
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, veterans are bred to be entrepreneurs. Why? Because we understand improvise, adapt, and overcome. We understand mission accomplishment. We understand that when we set out to do a mission, we will continue that mission out unless we get completely blown our asses up. All right. So you put a lot of those factors into play and you surround yourself with people. There will be ups and there will be downs and there will be hurdles that you hit and there will be things you'll be like, I got 2 steps forward. Now I'm freaking 3 steps back, but you can make it happen. So we're going through this. We get things situated and we're now able to sell locally in San Diego. We learned that we can't go and sell outside of San Diego County whenever we have Irreverent Warriors and a couple other places wanting us to come up there and sell. And we had to file a special permit. And usually most of the time, they don't tell you until like 30 days before the event. They want you to come there and you got to have 90 days to file for the paperwork to go there. So it's like, oh my God. So then you learn, hey, reach out to these places that reached out to you. Next event, if you want us there, give us enough time period so we can get the appropriate things handled. But it was short-lived because we all know what happened in 2020.
Right.
Now, mind you, I wasn't watching the news. I didn't have time. I quit the day job. I was all in on my woodworking business. I was all in on growing this, the woodworking business, the primary business. And I noticed Christmas of 2019 really wasn't that much business that I had the prior year, which gave me the opportunity to say, yeah, and or in 2017, which gave me the opportunity to quit the day jobs. So I was like, I got to pay the bills. I got to take care of the kids. So I ended up looking back to go to work part-time. Well, O'Reilly Auto Parts heard that I was wanting to look for work, and they offered me to come back. And thank God they did allow me to come back. And then whenever I ended up getting into O'Reilly Auto Parts is when I then found out. I started there February 25th, and literally less than a month later, or February, March, March. Next thing I know, they're talking about shutdowns or doing these notices. COVID's going out, and I'm starting to go to watch TV. I'm like, what the hell is this shit? I didn't know what it was. I didn't know damn clue. And then we get a notice from the county in the end of March that we need to shut down. They're working on the protocols and this and everything else. So thank goodness for going back to the W-2, because problem number umpteen million comes around in November when the county decides to send us. I don't know how many other people they sent the first notice to, but we didn't get the first notice in May. We get a notice in November that says revision to the May guidelines. You now can do this, this, and this, and this. And,
Right.
Advance, in addition to the other things to keep your business in operation. The whole time I could have been producing my crayons, and I could have been offering people to come to my house and sell them, because it was a finished product in a sealed packaging. And it was made within the healthcare guidelines, and there was less than 10 people working. There was me and Cassandra. So that was aggravating.
Oh, I imagine.
And yeah. So
I don't want to cut you off. We're getting towards the end of the show. So I wanted to make sure I hit a few things before we got out of here. A, I wanted to hit what the future holds for you. And B, I want you to let everyone know where to find you, where we can get the products, and, just give yourself the biggest shout out you can possible.
Well, give you a quick synopsis. So after we get through 2020, 2021 comes in. We got into the Clubhouse, which, if anybody was stuck in a pandemic, they learned what Clubhouse was. It was radio meets networking on steroids. Met a lot of people, took the business, decided to go from the home to mass production. Awesome. So now we're in the phase of getting a legitimate business. We went to the legitimate business side, got into the corporation, started crowdfunding, learned about an organization called Warrior Rising that is 100% free to veterans to help find their purpose through entrepreneurship, where they give training, education, coaching, mentorship, and possible funding opportunities. I got the funding opportunity, went to the business shower, got a 3-piece suit, laptop, tons of mentoring, tons of networking, and received the grant for $10,000. They helped me not become a statistic of COVID and shut down.
How freaking cool is that?
That money gave us the money we needed to get into mass production to meet FDA requirements. So we're in the end of 2021. We get the mass production. 2022, we've got the production facility. We've got the package. We've got everything. We set up pre-orders. We set up pre-launches, hurdle after hurdle. October of last year, we finally launched to the masses nationwide. Last year, we sold over 75,000 in sales. Not only with our crayons, but all of our other products and everything else we have on there. Our certified crayon eater decals, our Lance Corporal Crunch stickers, our crayon eater t-shirts, our crayons and chill t-shirts.
Those are
And
awesome.
the future that holds for us is Crayons Ready to Eat is no longer its standalone company. Crayons Ready to Eat is underneath Milk Treats Inc.
Okay.
Milk Treats Inc. is the creator of Crayons Ready to Eat, the world's first colorable chocolate crayon. Not only is a novelty, but it is made of Belgian white chocolate.
So it's
Crayons
delicious.
Ready. Yes, it's delicious. So crayonsreadytoeat.com is still live. It will always still be live. And right now, because of our product that is a Belgian white chocolate, we can't ship during the summer. It's a high quality chocolate. It has a lower melting temperature. So we ship from October to April. So right now, you can go to crayonsreadytoeat.com and pre-order. Product will ship October 1st.
Awesome.
You can find us on any social media at Crayons Ready to Eat, except for on Twitter. It's crayons_R_E. You can find us at Mill Treats everywhere, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, X now, used to be Twitter, all those things. And you can find us on there. Mill Treats' future is we are not only focusing on the joke that we brought, we are bringing as many jokes as we can, as well as military items into the treat industry to educate people about the historical significance behind those items with each and every item. So those that are fresh in the military, those that don't know the military, or even those that are in the military that don't know why we have these things, there will be historical facts that would be passed, QR codes on the packaging, access on the website within the product. And we're coming out with things like a coffee infused candy bar that's going to be the shape of a dog tag, history about that. We're going to do a coffee infused fragmentation grenade, so, or no, we're going to do a cocoa bomb that's a fragmentation grenade. So we're bringing all these historical items into the military world. And right now we're looking for wholesalers because in the summer we can ship larger quantities because of the shipping, packaging, and everything they have. That gives it the nice cold barriers and the liners and everything else. So if anybody has any place in their local town, I don't care if it's a candy shop, if it's a military surplus store, or if it's a firearms and archery and outdoors place, and you want to be able to continue getting our product over the summer, go to our website, send us a message, crayonsreadytoeat.com, or have them go on there. There's a wholesale section that they can turn around and click on and get access where they can sign up to be a wholesale vendor and be amongst Grunt Style, Black Rifle Coffee, and be one of our wholesalers to stock our products.
I love
because
that,
yes,
man.
we are coming to Grunt Style stores and Black Rifle Coffee stores.
I am so excited for you, man. I can't even tell you. TJ or Joe, whatever you want to be called today. What you got for your final words here tonight?
Man, he pretty much covered all my questions. I just want to know what they taste like and how it's made and stuff like that. I did like the part talking about being entrepreneurs and saying, you might take 2 steps forwards, but 3 steps back, but figure your shit out. That's pretty much.
Yep.
I love that.
Sums it up for me.
I love that, man. Frank, is there anything we missed? Is there anything you want to touch before we take off here and before we get our closing remarks?
If you have an inkling or you have an idea of something that you want to do, take the step forward and make it happen. If anybody tells you that, it's not a good idea, don't listen to them. Stick to your guns, stick to your passion, and be able to do things because only you know what you're capable to do to bring out. Until you get into a large, situation where you have more than, you get out there for the product testing or the service testing and people's like, yeah, it's just not for me. But it doesn't mean you got to stop. You have to fail in order to succeed, but you have to surround yourself with people to succeed when you fail. Failure is the first attempt in learning. If you're not networking, you're not working. Your network is your net worth. So get out there, do it. And for crying out loud, nobody needs a work-life balance, in my opinion. If you're passionate about what you do, you enjoy what you do, you're happy with what you do, it's an extension of what you do. No matter where you go, everybody should know that you're a parent, you're a father, you're a mother, you're a protector, you have this business, you work at this company. They should know what you do no matter where you go, because it's an extension of you. And get out there and just do it.
I love that. That's a great way to wrap the show up. And you guys have heard me talk plenty. I'm just going to tell you guys, if you liked us and if you like everything we're doing, check us out on YouTube. Give us a like, give us some comments, tell us what we can do better. Find us. We're going to have these live on anywhere you find podcasts. Like, subscribe, do everything you can there. It helps us build up in the algorithm and do better. We are on Facebook. We have our own Facebook group for everyone that you can sit there and join and be part of the family. We've got Discord. So if you want to join the Discord, just join the Facebook Society Misfits, and I'll send you that link. I think we're pretty much everywhere. Just look up Shadow Mark. You'll find us. And then I'll kick it over to TJ real quick to do his final spiel, because I'm not going to cut you guys short of that just because we joined MBR. So TJ, do your final spiel, and then we're going to end this thing up. And Frank, thank you so much for coming on. I can't tell you how appreciative I am. This has been a great first show for us with MBR, and I'm so excited about it.
Pleasure to be here.
So, yeah, man. Like I always say, just don't be a cocksucker. If someone reaches out and they need help, listen to them, have their back, do your best at giving them advice. And if you notice that someone is usually very active on social media and they haven't been lately, you might want to reach out and just check on them, see how they're doing.
Hell yeah. And with that, guys, we're out of here. I'm going to leave you with a small video to finish this thing up. And thanks for tuning in. Until next time, until next week, we're out of here.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcast episodes. And thanks for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to talk about something close to my heart. Military Broadcast Radio is doing incredible work to support our veterans and bring their voices to the world. They rely on your generous donations and your dedicated volunteer hours to make it happen. I encourage you to consider supporting NBR in any way, form that you can. Use this QR code that's attached to the picture, or you can go to our website at mbradio.us. That's Mike Bravo Radio.us to learn more about how you can donate or volunteer even just an hour a week from your home. Help make a difference in the lives of our veterans, because once again, we're all here for you and not for us. We're giving our veterans a voice.